Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the reInvent session, bringing AWS benefits to all Apple developers with EC2 Mac instances. I'm your host, Manish Rathore, Senior Product Manager with EC2 at AWS. Over the past few months, our team has been working tirelessly to bring macOS to the AWS cloud with EC2 Mac instances. I'm super excited to discuss today what this offering entails, the product definition and customer experience, and why we believe it is a game changer for all Apple developers across the globe. Here's the agenda for today. We will begin by providing a high-level overview of AWS and EC2. We will then cover the use cases and benefits of running macOS in the cloud. Subsequently, we will introduce EC2 Mac instances that allow customers to natively run macOS on EC2. We will then cover the hardware specifications, platform details, macOS experience, and pricing before we finally conclude. So let's get started with an overview of AWS. Since 2006, Amazon Web Services, or AWS, has been the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted AWS platform. AWS offers over 175 fully featured services for compute, networking, storage, databases, analytics, and many other use cases. Millions of customers, including the fastest growing startups, largest enterprises, and leading government agencies, trust AWS to power their infrastructure, becoming more agile and lowering their costs. In fact, as of 2020, AWS has been recognized as a cloud leader by Gartner for 10th consecutive year. So what does Amazon EC2 look like today? EC2 provides scalable computing capacity on AWS, enabling rapid development and deployment of your applications. EC2 provides you with virtual computing environments, known as instances, and with pre-configured templates, known as Amazon Machine Images or AMIs, that package the necessary operating system and software into a consolidated machine image. You can leverage the global reach of AWS cloud infrastructure with EC2, spanning multiple geographic regions and availability zones around the world. You can use EC2 to launch as many and as few virtual private servers as you want. All these options you see here, from GPU-dense environment to leveraging local FPGAs to ARM-powered instances to a single instance with up to 24 terabytes of memory, networking speed up to 400 gigabits, are available on EC2. Today, you can leverage more than 350 EC2 instance types, catering to virtually every workload or business need. So what are the use cases for running macOS on Amazon EC2? Today, there are over 1 billion active Apple devices and a million apps available on the Apple App Store, and there is a thriving community of more than 28 million Apple developers who are creating these applications and experiences that serve and delight customers. These Apple developers rely on macOS and its innovative tooling, frameworks, and APIs to build, test, sign applications for Apple's industry-leading platforms such as iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and Safari. Until now, development of these platforms wasn't possible in the AWS cloud, since Apple app development relies exclusively on Xcode that only runs on macOS. It was clear to us, to be able to support these developers, we needed to bring macOS to the AWS cloud. Back in 2006, we launched EC2 with Linux and Unix support. In 2008, we extended support to Windows operating system. Over the past 12 years, we have added support to dozens of Linux, Unix, and Windows flavors for you to choose from, each of them catering to your specific workload requirements. As you can see, macOS here is conspicuous by its absence. Bringing macOS to EC2 meant bringing Apple computers into AWS data center. We were up to the challenge. Thanks to the capabilities enabled by AWS Microsystem, this is exactly what we did, and I'm pleased to announce that EC2 Mac instances are not generally available for all AWS customers. Built on Mac mini computers, EC2 Mac instances enable customers to run on-demand macOS workloads in the AWS cloud for the first time ever. So what are the benefits of EC2 Mac instances? We have built EC2 Mac instances specifically with Apple developer community in mind. First, you can now for the first time run macOS workloads on AWS and benefit from the scale, flexibility, cost effectiveness, and the experience that AWS's secure on-demand infrastructure offers to millions of customers for more than a decade. Second, Mac instances offload to AWS the heavy lifting of managing infrastructure, which means Apple developers can focus on building great apps. Third, Mac instances allow you to launch macOS environments within minutes, dynamically scale capacity as needed, and pay only for actual usage with AWS's pay-as-you-go pricing. For example, you can scale up your build fleet during workdays when developers are checking in their code and scale down during the weekends. This in turn helps you save cost. Fourth, you can consolidate build pipelines across all platforms like Apple, Windows, and Android onto AWS, resulting in lower DevOps fragmentation, higher agility, and accelerated time to market. And finally, this is one of my personal favorite. Mac instances provide you with seamless access to other AWS services and features. You can use virtual private cloud for network security, elastic block storage for fast and expandable storage, elastic load balancer for distributing build queues, Amazon FSx for scalable file storage, and AWS Systems Manager for configuring, managing, and patching your macOS environments. Now let's look at the hardware specs of Mac instances. Mac instances are powered by Apple Mac Mini computers featuring 8th generation Intel Core i7 Coffee Lake processors, 3.2 GHz frequency, turbo boost up to 4.6 GHz, 6 physical cores, 12 logical processors, and 32 GB of memory. Just like recent EC2 platforms, you may have noticed, Mac instances are also enabled by the AWS Nitro system. AWS Nitro system is a rich collection of building blocks that offloads many of the traditional software-defined functions to dedicated hardware and software to deliver high performance, high availability, and high security. Mac instances are uniquely enabled by the AWS Nitro system, which makes it possible to offer Mac Mini computers as fully integrated and managed EC2 instances. AWS Nitro system helps provide 10 gigabits of VPC network bandwidth and 8 gigabits of EBS storage bandwidth on Mac instances. Continuing to further deep dive into the platform specifications of Mac instances, Mac instances are available as EC2 bare metal instances. EC2 bare metal instances provide you with direct access to underlying hardware while offering the same elasticity, security, scalability, and reliability of any other EC2 instance type. This means there are no virtualization overheads that macOS boots on bare metal Mac Mini, and it can leverage the full power and capabilities of the underlying Mac hardware. Additionally, Mac instances are available as new EC2 general purpose family called Mac One, and the API name for these instances is mac1.metal. Third, Mac instances support up to 15 EBS volumes and up to 8 elastic network interfaces or ENIs. You can elastically expand each EBS volume to up to 16 terabytes, but pay only for actual usage. We recommend using general purpose or provisioned IOPS EBS volumes with Mac instances for optimal EBS performance. Fourth, Mac instances support dedicated host tenancy with minimum host allocation duration of 24 hours to align with macOS licensing. Therefore, launching a Mac instance is a two-step process. First, you allocate a Mac dedicated host in your AWS account. A Mac dedicated host is a physical server fully dedicated to your use. Once the host is allocated, you can launch, stop, start, reboot, and terminate as many Mac1.metal instances on that dedicated host as you want. When you no longer need the Mac dedicated host, you can terminate your running instances first and then release the dedicated host back to AWS. Please note that once allocated, a Mac dedicated host can only be released after 24 hours. Separately, the underlying Mac Mini on Mac instances has an internal SSD, but this SSD is neither managed nor supported by AWS. We strongly encourage you to use EBS instead, which offers higher availability and durability characteristics similar to all other Nitro EC2 instance types. Finally, there has been immense excitement with the latest release of Mac computers with Apple M1 chip. We are excited to announce that Mac instances with M1 chips are in the works and they are coming soon in 2021. Now let's move on to macOS and the guest experience on Mac instances. We have launched Mac instances with support for macOS Mojave and Catalina as EC2 vended Amazon Machine Images or AMIs. Just like other EC2 instances, you can launch a Mac instance with EC2 provided AMI, install the requisite developer tooling, say Xcode and Jenkins, and create a derivative AMI for your subsequent use. We are also actively working on releasing the official Mac OS Big Sur AMI, and it's coming soon in 2021. Just like other Linux instances, you can SSH into Mac instances for a command line interface. This is similar to terminal access on a Mac computer. You can also leverage the inbuilt VNC server within macOS for GUI access. For security reasons, we recommend you to tunnel VNC traffic over port 22 and avoid opening the default VNC port. You can look up exact steps for enabling graphical access on Mac instances in EC2 Mac instance documentation. macOS AMIs come with standard packages just like other Linux AMIs, such as AWS CLI v2 and AWS Systems Manager Agent to configure, manage, and patch your macOS environments. EC2 macOS AMIs also come pre-installed with Homebrew to update the included packages and EC2 macOS init to customize initialization during macOS boot. These utilities and their documentation are open source and are available on GitHub. Finally, we plan to release new macOS AMIs at a regular cadence to align with minor and major macOS releases from Apple. Lastly, we wanted to discuss pricing of EC2 Mac instances. First, there are no separate charges for macOS AMIs, and they are made available to you with macOS license included, which means you do not need to bring your own license to start using macOS on EC2. Second, since Mac instances only support dedicated host tenancy, you are charged for the duration the Mac dedicated host remains allocated to your account. Instances running on Mac dedicated hosts incur no additional charge. Mac dedicated hosts are available for purchase on demand with minimum allocation and billing duration of 24 hours. After 24 hours, you'll continue to be billed per second for Mac dedicated host until you choose to release that host from your AWS account. Third, Mac instances do not support host reservations or spot purchase option. And finally, you can leverage 1 year and 3 year instance and compute savings plan and enjoy discounts up to 44% over on-demand rates. To conclude, I would like to share this quote from Pratik Vadar, VP of Product Development at Intuit. Intuit has been leveraging Mac instances in private beta for the past few months. Pratik says, "We are experiencing up to 30% better performance over our data center infrastructure thanks to elastic capacity expansion and high availability setup leveraging multiple zones. We are now running around 80% of our production builds on EC2 Mac instances and are excited to see what the future holds for AWS innovation in this space." This anecdote serves as a true testament of the power and capabilities of Mac instances, and our hope is that over the coming weeks and months, we'll have many more Apple developers sharing similar stories. EC2 Mac instances are a testament of how world-class Apple hardware and the global reach and scale of AWS can come together to revolutionize macOS in the cloud. This is just the beginning, and we will continue to bring more innovative Mac platforms and macOS capabilities to our customers going forward. Please stay tuned. Thank you. Hope you found this session informative. We really appreciate your time here. And before you leave, please don't forget to fill out the session survey. Have a great reInvent 2020. Thank you very much. Cheers.